Welcome to The Doc Analyzes Anything, where psychology and science meet as we analyze and attempt to explain any behavior, including eating the circus peanuts and throwing away the Twizzlers in your Halloween stash.
So, how many times did you have to click like generate before I came up with that one?
There's a few other ones. What else? I erased them. One was distributing tricks only and no treats.
Sounds like Dr. Wizard Meow Meow's weekend over there.
Just all tricks, no treats.
Yeah. It does sound like something he would do is just prefer the circus peanuts to all the good candy.
No chance. I won't lie. I was a Red Vines kind of guy for a minute, but then I came to my senses and I converted back to the Twizzlers. They're good.
Red Vines are great though.
I don't even like Twizzlers.
Oh man.
Yeah, you actually do like candy corn though.
It tastes like a fresh candy corn tastes like frosting, and I like frosting. By the way, Dr. Brad's parents were over hanging out with the kids while we were at a wedding, and they brought a mixture of candy corn and peanuts, and it does taste like a payday bar. It is delicious if you just mix those things together and eat it. So,
Brad, for some reason I thought you were a circus peanuts guy though. Are you not?
Oh, no.
I remember buying circus peanuts one time, and I don't even remember what they taste like, but I just remember being unimpressed. So that's why I probably bought it one time.
It's because you like things like Necco wafers lead me to believe you'd like the all the bad candy is what I was really getting at.
Okay, here's one then. Like a mainstream candy that you get in like trick-or-treating that you did not like.
I'm going to infuriate a lot of people. I will not say I didn't like. I just said I don't like Twizzlers. The only licorice I liked were like the tropical flavored, like bright orange and different colored ones, but really upset everybody, including my wife, your sister. I am not
my sister.
His sister. He asked the question. People can put it together here. Come on now. I am not a big Reese's fan. I prefer Reese's Pieces over a peanut butter cup.
Oh, and so you say Pieces, Reese's Pieces instead of
Pieces, whatever. But yeah,
man, that's there's several elements there. It is Reese's Pieces, first of all, because it rhymes, and you know it rhymes, and you did it anyways.
I made it rhyme wrong. Reese's Pieces instead of Reese's Pieces. All right.
It also makes me think we can't be friends anymore because for two reasons. One, nobody told me about dressing up for Halloween.
This was new to me.
I just showed up like this, and Wizard Brad here goes and grabs a hat real quick so he's not left out. And
no, this is, you can't see this on the, if you're just listening, but this is a whole like wizard robe.
Oh man. Yeah,
it just looks like a shirt.
Yeah, I was thinking that it looks like a shirt.
There's nothing better than like a frozen Reese's peanut butter cup.
Yes.
Like straight out of the freezer. Let that thing kind of melt in your mouth for a second. Stick your tongue right through the middle. Push out the peanut butter. I know, it's one of those podcasts.
I thought you were like drilling a hole in the middle just to stick your tongue through it.
No. Because you gotta. I don't know. There's no way to explain it without everybody chortling. So I'm gonna stop. But
I saw something like that in a movie once, but they used like a watermelon.
I don't know what movies you're watching, but let's just change the subject.
A frozen watermelon?
No. Have you guys never seen American Pie?
Yes.
I have, but I don't remember the watermelon. So
maybe it wasn't a watermelon. It was something.
It was the pie.
It was an apple pie.
Literally the apple pie.
Well, no, there was that, and then some guy used a fruit.
All right. Either way, let's move on because we got the gist of it, and we needed to not get the gist of it.
We went from we went to a PG-13 real quick there, fellas.
Yeah, I think someone commented on the Feces at Cole's episode that was rated R, and this one's definitely gonna be rated R. So there you go.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, hello everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Steven Sparks. With me today is, as always, Kyle Sturry and Dr. Wizard Bradley over here. And that's due to the hat, not just because he's great at urinating. So if you haven't gotten the gist of it already, as long as Kyle doesn't screw this up, this episode will come out on Halloween Day, which will be sweet. Dr. decided to stick with the theme. There's a lot of different ways we could take it. I was thinking like do some freaky folklore, talk about like the Jersey Devil or the Mothman prophecies or changelings, or maybe even talk about the poison Halloween scare and how that all came to be. But we're conceited enough to assume that we're going to be doing this for years and have plenty of reason and listeners to talk about different things over time. So
I do
decided to
want
go
to talk
back.
Mothman someday.
Mothman's a real entertaining one, and if anybody hasn't seen the movie, it's an older movie now, but it was always one of
Yeah.
my favorite, like kind of freaky out as a, I don't know, when did they come out? Was that teenage years or was that young adult
Man,
years?
that was 2002, 2003. Richard
Okay.
Gere.
So yeah, it's a good one to check out, but figured this time we'd take it back to kind of where the holiday began, look at maybe some of the cultural practices that were part of that, and to see where that takes us. So
Back where it all began.
hopefully, but everybody's been taking their time to enjoy the Ed Gein and other kind of spooky season things going on around here. What have you been doing to get in the holiday spirit there, Kyle?
I don't know what Ed Gein is.
So
Is
obviously
this a
not.
Detroit thing?
No. I am just mortified that you don't know. He is one of the first original thought of like serial killers, even though he was before like the heyday of the serial killer, and obviously was not the first because they go back way back into history, and there's even more prolific serial killers in American history. He was the one that was like a farmer or grew up on a farm in Wisconsin, and kind of was where many of the horror movies originated, the ideas. So he would dig up bodies and make furniture and other things in a skin suit out of the skin. Yeah, this is definitely going to be at least PG-13. Not when we get into the rest of it, but um
When
there's
was
always.
this? Like last year? I'm just kidding.
What's that?
When was
No,
this?
this was like the
He
50s or
was
60s, right?
he was born in like 1908, but was
Man.
caught in the 1950s.
All
But
right.
there's a Netflix kind of a Netflix special. It's like one of the monster ones, and so they've embellished a lot. It is not.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of crimes he's suspected of but never proven, and they added all them in as fact, and then took a lot of liberties of like him mentoring other serial killers, which there's no evidence of whatsoever. So,
Gotcha.
but
No,
Well,
I
with
learned
him,
something.
he has two, right? That's all he was actually like convicted of, like
he
confirmed.
only admitted to two. But there were like there was the teenage girl that families knew each other that went missing nearby, and everybody suspected him, but there's no evidence of that sort of thing. So
Gotcha. Okay.
Gotcha. To answer your question, we have Halloween decor up. We've got a big cobweb with a spider on it. Harry the spider is out in full effect. We have skeletons hanging up outside. We watched The Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown last night, for which I fell asleep. Um, it
isn't that
was
just on like one place now? You can't even just watch that on TV anymore.
I don't know. It's on Apple TV, and we watch it every year, once a year, and it even like picked up where we left off in the credits last year. And our wood stove is fired up, so we've got a nice fire that we're sitting beside, keeping our living room at 78 degrees right now. It's a little warm outside for a fire, but we're doing it anyways.
Speaking of which, we'll be talking a little bit about where the idea of the bonfire, the name bonfire, came from. So there you
I
go.
did that on purpose. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay.
No, I didn't. I didn't do that.
No, I'd say usually I don't tell you what's going on before we do this, so I'd be surprised. Yeah, we have Wolfrid, our 7'2" mechanical werewolf out front, and then Mr. Bones, the 12-foot skeleton wearing a Lions jersey because they won when I put it on, and so now I can never take it off. Even though I don't usually believe in any superstition, that's one, I guess. It's probably actually more effort to take it off than I'm willing to do, and so it'll just stay on. But,
Yeah, I was wondering when I saw that, was it just like a ladder you got up and just like shimmied it down him?
no, yet I'd take the arms and head off to put it on, but I still did it from a ladder with a hex wrench or Allen wrench, so that just made it that much more dangerous, and so that's why it's staying on.
Very spooky hex.
Yes, Dr. Brad, anything you've been doing to get in the
Like
I mean,
Frankensteining
petting a
any
lot of black
animals?
cats at work. Just
Oh god, a lot of self-reflection. Yeah. Yeah,
Your
that'll get
Halloween
me in the spooky
resolutions.
mind. Yeah.
that's always gets me to dark place for the time of year. So
Yeah. Yeah, I don't need to dive much further than that.
yeah, I should mention to everybody that is listening instead of watching us on YouTube that I'm also wearing my Sully costume from a couple years ago. That when we only had one small child, and that is what we went with. All right. Any other thoughts? Anything Halloween related?
Funniest part, to go back to it really quick, you called it Halloween Day.
Halloween Day?
Yeah, you
Like
called it Halloween Day.
well, we'll get into this also, but like Halloween is not just one day in these parts. First of all, there's Devils or Angels Night, depending on what year you're living in. But our Halloween decor went up like mid-September, and so it is a lifestyle. It is not just one day a year in these parts.
It should also be noted that Halloween is Dr. Sparks' favorite holiday.
I will say that learning as much as I've learned about the world and learning science has diminished kind of that eerie, spooky feeling some, but I still like to go all out, and every year I get more and more stuff. The only reason I didn't get more things to put out in the lawn this year, one, the 50-foot Stay Puft Marshmallow Man just would have gotten popped on a tree, and two, I've run out of storage space, and so until I decide to either rent a storage locker or buy a bigger house for it all, we're kind of stuck where we're at.
Tried
Stay
doing
Puft would be so cool.
Ghostbusters. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Brad. Say it again.
Oh, I was just saying that the Stay Puft would be really cool. It's just a quick statement. My apologies.
Yeah, if anybody hasn't seen this 50-foot inflatable thing that's been popping up like ads on my Facebook, probably because of what I'm into, like the back of our house would come up to its knees. Like this would have been seen from like blocks and blocks away. It would have been crazy.
And it's the Ghostbusters thing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a third the size of the real one that towered over skyscrapers in New York City.
I was gonna say we revisited Ghostbusters. That's not incredibly appropriate for young kids. Not like I thought it would be.
There are a lot of things going back that I'm watching that I watched as I thought a fairly young child that,
Yeah.
oh, all right then. Either I missed
Yeah.
that or it just didn't seem like a big deal back in the late 80s, early 90s.
PG in the 80s is not PG today.
Even if you look at like SpongeBob, there's a lot of things that go on in SpongeBob that were not appropriate, but you just overlook it.
Yeah. Ren and Stimpy,
Mhm.
Rocko's Modern Life, that whole period of time was a wild time to be a kid, and it made me the man I am today, really, is what I think it comes down to.
This is for you, Ren.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into Halloween practices a little bit, just so people don't have to just hear us blabber on about nothing for a while. So I was looking this up, trying to figure out, how are we going to do a somewhat scientific analysis on it and got to get back to the real history. It turns out that there wasn't a lot of, early writing or history taking of these practices 2,000 years ago, back when it can earliest times can maybe be traced to. And so none of this is fully agreed upon by all Halloween scholars, which I think I missed my calling there. I probably should have just been a Halloween scholar. Probably would have gotten more work that way too. But
PH Demon.
yeah,
Hey,
it
you can take that one home.
it all kind of can be traced back, at least in theory, to the Celtic harvest festival Samhain, which occurred on around November 1st each year. And it was the time of year where they were gathering the harvest, bringing animals back from the distant pastures, getting and really preparing for the winter months. And because, and this is my theory, and I think scholars may or may not tend to agree with this, but this period of time where like things are dying, it's going dormant. There's even the idea that like maybe, and I didn't actually see this written anywhere, just it makes sense to me that this period of time where like it's flu season, illness occurs more often, people may have been even more likely to pass away starting at this time of year. It has a lot of overlap between this idea of death in general. And so during this time, there is some evidence that people that were celebrating Samhain uh, had ancient stories about these mounds would open to reveal places where like the gods of the underworld, and you could see their palaces, and maybe even allow you to enter the realm of the dead. Um, it was really a time where they believed that they could communicate more with the dead due to, and I think kind of like this stimulus overlap between the land of the living, everything is kind of going dormant and dying, and the idea that, okay, our ancestors, those that we've known that have died, may be here where we can communicate with them as well.
Is there anything to like the days being shorter too? Like there's like more nighttime. It's maybe I don't know. Is the moon bigger sometimes in that part of the season?
I mean, we all hear about the harvest moon, and so I
Yeah.
think in theory it may seem bigger. The moon is actually the same size all the time. If you're not,
I think we are like getting closer and moving back from it, but I don't know.
I
I'm
do
just kidding.
believe that it's an effect based on the way we see it, and maybe it may be slightly elliptical the way it moves around us, but from what I have read, the moon is actually slowly moving farther away from us, and eventually will break free from its orbit like millions or billions of years from now if the sun doesn't swallow us first, sort of thing. And so uh
Race to the
I don't think
finish.
it's actually getting any. Yeah,
I
it's
hope I
over
get to
now.
live
That's
to
it.
see it.
Goodbye, folks. But so I don't know if it's ever actually physically closer, but there are times obviously that it looks massive compared to others. I remember I was driving back out wedding upstate New York. I drove from Metro Detroit to New York and back. I looked at my rear view on the way heading back to Metro Detroit, and the move just looked massive. Like it didn't even make sense how big it looked coming up
Mm.
behind me. And so now you've put me on the spot and I can't explain it, and I want to know why this phenomenon like occurs. So maybe you should be looking this up while we're talking.
I'm on it.
All
I'm on
right.
it. I think it's
Um
because the moon is chasing you.
our 4-year-old often will say if we're out driving after dark, like, oh, the moon's following us. Where's it at? Uh but yeah. I remember being a little kid and thinking like the telephone poles looked like they were running the opposite direction as we were going down the road at dark. So probably a normal little kid thing.
A quick AI lookup says the moon's apparent size is due to an optical illusion, which causes it to look bigger on the horizon and smaller when high in the sky because it's being compared to objects in the foreground. No, but that doesn't make sense. It's not the same.
Yeah.
I do remember when I looked it up in the past that it was supposedly an optical illusion, but sometimes it looks extremely small and
But what
sometimes it
about like
looks,
the supermoon? Supermoon.
yeah,
It's my magic.
yeah, it's the hat. It's all the hat.
Sometimes I wanna trick you guys like you said I like to do, and so I put spells on the moon.
Mm. It's what was it, Bruce Almighty, when he wanted to impress his girlfriend or his wife, so he pulls the moon closer and then it just like creates a massive tidal wave and takes out like a whole civilization. So thanks
Yeah.
for that, Brad.
You're welcome.
The moon
Natural
does
select.
get close. The moon does go around in an ellipse, so it is closer
Okay.
at times. So
That's what I was thinking, but I didn't wanna sound stupid and say that off of, like, a theory.
I thought that it probably did, but that's a different scientific conversation that we'd go off of on for a long time. And so uh we'll just leave you with,
what
when
is the
humans
moon?
go to outer space, they are not actually floating around space, but they are just falling forward at a speed fast enough that they are continuously missing the Earth in a circle around it. So just think about that as we move on talking about Halloween here moving forward and how that might affect an elliptical motion of the moon.
Done.
I'll be
That's what
honest,
I
I
want
never
to do.
thought about it in that way. All right, here's another thing with like spooky season, and I'm curious on our theories and the why. And I think this one has been discussed like a lot, but like I don't remember why. But why is it that black cats are like this like ominous type figure around this time of year?
So that is one that I actually did see. Um, and it didn't say exactly why it started, but during the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages, so like around 400 AD to 1400 AD, they were considered a symbol of evil just like during that time, and probably because you're associating the darkness, black. It was a time of a lot of disease and death and scary stuff going on, and so um, the general idea of them being potentially a symbol of the devil or evil came about around those times. Um, but this is again a historian. I mean, I was finding random historians that were talking on like today and things like that. So this is not a scientifically backed manuscript I was reviewing here, but supposedly there was this idea that during the witch trials, during the height of the belief that these devil worshippers were practicing magic, as they were capturing and trying and then burning people they believed to be witches, they found that there's a disproportionate number of black cats associated with these people, and therefore they came up with the idea like that they were the familiars or these evil entities that were assisting in the black magic. And
Oh.
so that is when the real attachment to Halloween, spooky season, that sort of thing began, even though back further than that they were still thought to be evil, just nobody really talked about why or didn't write it down anyways.
I mean,
So
cats inherently are evil little creatures, I will say. But why is it the black cats? Why?
well, I mean, my black cat named Loki wouldn't even join me for this episode. I tried to bring him in on this. I mean, it seemed like the perfect time, and the one time he's not trying to get in my office to destroy things happens to be the Halloween episode. So it's just
Normal
rude, is
cat
really what it is.
behavior.
Yeah, you'd think some sort of behavior analyst would be able to do something about that, but
Too late. It's too late for
yeah,
Loki.
I mean, yeah, he's 12 years old. He's destroying the earth in his own way already. This is all we're getting out of him. So yeah, back kind of this idea, the transition between like bright green growing season, brown, different colors, and then eventually no leaves, gray kind of deadness of the um time period. And it's interesting that this all seemingly originated in Europe, because we see other patterns elsewhere too, like Dia de los Muertos or Day of the Dead. Um, Now, again, you start diving into that rabbit hole, and the narrative has long been that this is a solely, Aztec or the native people of Mexico who brought about this celebration. But there's at least one prominent researcher who suggests no, it actually has to do with the fact that a leader of Mexico or a leadership group of Mexico at one point wanted to just erase the history of the Europeans coming in and say it was more about that native people that they
Hmm.
are descendant from, and so it may have to do with influences from Europeans coming over as well, kind of mixing together. But even though it is a holiday that is more about celebrating the dead and the relationship with the dead, and um, remembering and designing and putting up the altars with food and offerings to the dead, it still happens around the same time of year, and likely may occur that time of year, or been started that time of year around 3,000 years ago with the Aztec, or I may butcher this, but Nawa people,
Hmm.
because it was also that time of transition from the growing or life associated season to that of one of less life or potentially death. And so it may be one of those things that we see different stories that have the same kind of pattern different places in the world, just because there's this overlap between the stimuli of the changing seasons and what we associate with moving from one life to either a lack of life or the afterlife.
That's like one possibility. Are there any other like how did we, because it started as like a more religious thing and it evolved into what it is today, which in America at least, which is just costumes and candies. So like how did we go from that to what it is now?
So it if we're going back to Samhain, it was not a religious thing. It was more of a tribal people celebrating. This was before or right around the time of the invent of Christianity, and so there was not uh, a religious aspect to this. This was just kind of the tribal people and their beliefs based on what they've understood and kind of designed based on the world around them. And so kind of what we hear about or see with Native Americans as well, the spirit of the wind, that there's different spirits that do different things, play different roles, because as early humans, we didn't have much science to explain why these things may or
Mm.
may not be occurring. And I want to be careful there. I'm not suggesting that people should just not believe in what they believe in, but from an anthropological side, it is kind of like just way people found ways to explain the world around them and how they worked. Um, and so it was not, they didn't, there's this discussion about, is Halloween evil? Is it the devil's day? Should people not celebrate it? But the people that this seemingly originated with didn't have a devil. They may have had spirits of this underworld that when you died, that's where you went. And there may be leaders there the same way there was tribal leaders where they lived, but there wasn't an evil presence there. It was just this idea of endings and new beginnings and these spirits and gods around them that were controlling things that they couldn't understand otherwise. And so it wasn't until later that, you know, the Catholics came into Ireland and Scotland, which is where we're talking about with especially the Halloween practices, but the Celtic people in general. Um, and that's kind of where things start to shift from this idea of like, okay, it is just kind of a fall festival where we are gathering up for our winter survival and celebrating this time, to now it's All Saints Day. And I believe it
Mm.
was Pope Gregory. Why would I struggle to say Gregory? That was weird. Uh, take it out. Take it out.
Are you having a
Pope,
stroke?
yeah. Same way smell toast. Um, yeah.
Toast
So according
Gregory.
to the New York Public Library article that I found on their website, Pope Gregory III may have created All Saints Day, which was also November 1st, as an effort to stop the converts in these areas from celebrating non-Christian practices like Samhain.
Mm.
And so, all right, we need you to stop doing these like pagan rituals and just do what we want to do. We'll invent this holiday that, in theory at least, is incompatible with what you've been doing. Now you're going to do what we want you to do instead, and we don't have to deal with this anymore. And then later on, they added All Souls Day, which is the next day, November 2nd. And instead of taking over, it was all kind of meshed together to create what was later talked about or called All Hallows Day. And then the day before, October 31st, became All Hallows Eve. And then as the verbal behavior, the language kind of broke down and was, at least if you're me, slurred and talked about and said different ways, became Halloween. And so really the idea of what became Halloween, what we think of as Halloween, really all comes back to, at least in theory, this merging of two Catholic holidays and this pagan ritual that occurred even before Christianity existed.
Okay.
Fair.
That explains it. Why do we get candy? Go.
Let's get that in a minute, because I already I was going to say this first. Oh, another interesting thing that would occur during Samhain, before this melding that we just talked about, because you made me jump ahead a little bit, jerks, is like, how did bones start to become associated with this, and the idea of the bonfire. And so one of the
Yes.
things they would do this time of year was burn bones. They called it the bone fire, which over time became bonfire, as far as that's what most people believe anyways, where the origin of bonfire came from. And the ashes from these fires would be spread on the fields to bless the crops and to scare away evil spirits that may negatively affect the crops.
These human bones?
I am probably mostly animal, but I don't know. It could have been anybody's bones. Um, they did specify animal bones, but I doubt they
Oh,
were as
okay.
picky as we are.
Yeah,
I only
unencumbered
burn
by.
animal bones on my fields and crops.
Well, wait, because if you
It's that
said that
that's what makes it organic, okay?
Bone
this
meal.
time of year when people were dying, so were they also just doing like burning the bodies of people that were starting to die from things such as the flu? You think probably?
That was more later on. I think that I don't know what their burial practices were. I meant as this transition time where the crops were dying, you're going to prepare for the next year. They started doing this to bless the fields.
Mm,
But according to our uh, great leader, old Google here, the ashes from a bone fire can add things like calcium and other nutrients to the soil and
Sure.
potentially help the next growing season. And so it may be that you've harvested the animals for survival over winter. You need to do something with the bones. You've made the tools you need. Now we're just going to burn them down kind of to dust afterwards. And someone randomly threw them in the field, or maybe someone came up with the idea, oh, it'll scare away wolf, to use wolf bone out there. You don't know exactly the first person to do it, but now they see, oh shoot, wait, this is actually growing better now that we've done this. It must be because we're blessing the fields and scaring away the evil spirits by doing this. And so it's kind of where the bonfire ritual being associated with this time of year and Halloween and fall in general uh came from.
Makes sense. That
So,
makes sense.
yeah,
The I it's no secret. I grew up very evangelical, and Halloween was Satan's birthday. Like the Christian Satan. It was his birthday. But we were still allowed to go trick or treating. We just had to
that's
make
good.
sure that we acknowledge that.
As long as you acknowledge that, yeah. um
I don't think we
I
were as
didn't
hardcore about it, but I knew a lot of people who were like, we are locking the doors tonight.
I know, like, a lot of churches around us growing up would have alternate celebrations where you could get candy and dress up, but it had nothing to do with Halloween.
Oh man, it
You know what I
wasn't
mean?
it wasn't my church. There was a church that had a haunted house, but it was just like depicting hell from like how the Bible describes hell. So it was like the ultimate haunted house because you could actually go here. Here's what it looks like. Have fun, little kids.
That might have actually been a church I'd actually had wanted to go to as a kid. I don't know.
They just played like Megadeth in the background the whole time.
Nice.
Oh, actually, that's so. Last year, I experienced my first haunted house. What's your guys' take on haunted houses?
What you last year was the first time you've been to a haunted house? I thought you went with one with your sisters one time because the story goes your sister, the one that I'm not married to, peed her pants and had to borrow your pants on the ride home. Was
She
that
did, but I didn't go in.
okay? All right,
Yeah,
you just waited in the car. I got you.
yeah,
Peter
yeah,
Pants out of fright.
Yes, like
yes.
something freaked her out. Like not necessarily true fright that she felt like she was in danger, but like a jump scare
Oh wow.
caused this to occur.
I also said
And the
Peter
best of
Pants.
us, right?
I
Yeah,
I thought of a man named Peter Pants when I said that, and that would be unfortunate for him. I also I'm not a fan of haunted houses. I don't like jump scares. I also think there's probably like just some unlearning, like growing up. Like you don't go to haunted houses because that's wrong. We've gone to haunted houses since, but I was very uneasy. Like I don't like them. I don't like
See,
the
I
jump
was
scares and
unimpressed by it. Because at no point, because like maybe it's just like the knowing that I will be okay. So then whenever they jump out and you know it's gonna happen, I was
yeah
just like, oh, hello.
yeah
yeah. I think my parents unintentionally ruined it for me because they'd be like, "Just remember, these are real people in costume. They're not really gonna hurt you." And so then I'm going through. I'm like,
yeah
"Hey, guy, what's up?" You
yeah
know,
Yeah.
like the and I'm expecting the jump scare, which means it's not going to scare me the same way. So,
yeah.
uh, yeah, I've been to only a few as an adult, and there's some really good ones around here. Like they are well set up. One of them that actually got me a little bit, which I thought was really cool, had like an old Christine style car come out of the wall at you, like you're gonna get hit by this car. That was a pretty cool effect.
See,
But for
Wow.
the most part,
that'd be pretty cool. Like something such as that, but like a person jumping out and yelling
yeah,
that I like exactly that. And like I wish I wasn't that way, but I knew that like everything was good. So it just
yeah, and I think we've already established that I have an overinflated sense of my abilities, and so like I'm like I could handle all these people if I really needed to, if it came down to it. You know what I mean? I'm not worried about your chainsaw. I'm good.
Did you ever have like the rumors as like in school, kids talking about like, oh man, somebody died at this one. It was so scary. And like, there's,
I don't remember any details, but I do remember things like that going around.
I remember one. They were like, they pay you if you make it to the top, and no one's ever made it to the
Yeah,
top floor.
there was always that one. But then like if that existed, they're like, yeah, well, really, it's just a maze, and so you like there's one way to get
Yeah,
to the top floor.
just like a
But
trap door.
I remember there was one as a teenager, or like maybe even middle school, so not quite teenager, where like they used a helicopter that was supposedly downed and like built this entire like town and said like that sounded cool, but I
Yeah,
never made it there.
man.
All
Okay, so
right.
actually there's a behavioral point to it. So now I'm just really thinking about the like why is it that people get so scared at these when they know that everything will be okay? Like how do you think like cuz I don't think I'm unreasonable in saying that it doesn't scare me cuz like it should make sense that if you are in harm's way, you will be scared.
I
But
think being logical and practical people makes it harder. And I don't mean like that people that are afraid aren't necessarily, but if you walk into every situation analyzing it based on what it really is instead of just letting the moment encapsulate you, I think is part of it. You know what I mean? Um, I can't go in there without thinking, nope, that's just a guy in a suit. Whereas if you can really picture that as a monster or as a killer or something like that, then it would be freaky. Maybe not knowing where the next person's jumping out, but I think most of the people that are going to these things are also entertained by
Yeah,
the jump scare, like being frightened, and so they need that because it's reinforcing. Otherwise, there'd be no reason for them to go. And
there's
so,
probably like habituation effect too. Like if you is it habituation when it lessens? I always confuse them.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, I'll edit that out so I don't sound dumb. The but yeah, like being exposed to those stimuli. Like if you're into scary movies already, if you like being scared, like going to one, you're probably gonna jump a little less than somebody who like lives outside of that world and is exposed to it for the first time. But if that person goes through it like simultaneously, like once, like or consecutively, I mean, like goes through it again, it's probably not gonna have the same effect.
I think some people like to go over and over again, but it also might have been
As
one
far
of
as being
those.
scared, though,
Yeah,
as far
yeah,
as like
yeah.
jumping,
I think there's probably also that idea, like to prevent myself from being scared in situations. That's why I started explaining to myself as a kid. You know what I mean? Figuring out how
hmm
things were done, how it works, and so I like going to a scary movie, and if it seems a little too ridiculous, I'm laughing instead of screaming like everybody else in the
hmm
theater. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It could be a defense type mechanism as well, but that's so ingrained now that there is no fear to defend from, like when I was a kid. You know. All right. So over time, different things happen. The earliest immigrants to the United States from Ireland brought most of these practices with us. Um, and so let's look into some of our Halloween customs here. The jack o' lantern. Does anybody know the original story of the jack o' lantern?
I don't.
I have a feeling I'm about to find out.
Is this something to do
No,
with
that's it. That's
Ichabod Crane?
no, but that was like the first big American like
Mm.
uh kind of just first distinctly American ghost story is how one author
Ooh.
mentioned it back in the
After you
1820s.
say the story of jack-o'-lanterns, can you tell me about Ichabod? Because there is a beer that I very much enjoy at this time of year called
Yeah. Is
Ichabod.
that New
S-
Holland?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
start
Yes.
start looking it up, cause I only kind of remember the Ichabod Crane Headless Horseman story, but um jack-o'-lanterns believed to be derived from an ancient Irish folklore about a man named Stingy Jack. I thought it was stringy
Stingy?
at first, but
I thought it was
stingy.
stingy.
Stingy. It could be stingy. Probably is stingy.
You
It's
got a two-sided meaning of stingy.
Stingjack. I thought you didn't know this story. Well, how are you correcting me?
Logic?
Stingy Jack. Sure, let's
I'm
go with that.
Stingy Jack.
It's spelled stingy or stingy. I don't know. Uh Either way, Jack supposedly repeatedly tracked and tricked the devil and only would agree to release him if he promised that he would never take him to hell. Uh, Only problem was when he died, heaven didn't want him either because he wasn't necessarily the greatest guy who just keeps messing with the devil like this all the time.
Mm.
Um, so the devil gave him a big lump of coal and a carved out turnip to light his way as he wandered this earth as a dead spirit for the rest of his, or for I guess all of eternity, really. And so,
A piece of coal and a turnip?
yes, they were originally carved turnips. Late, like at this, sometime later, the Irish began carving scary faces in the turnips to scare away evil spirits this time of year, and then we adopted it mostly with pumpkins here in the United States, probably because they were bigger and easier to carve, and maybe they were just more abundant. I don't know the natural growing of pumpkins and where that came to be, but
Is
it,
turnip
it
farming a big thing in the US? Like, I imagine it is, right?
I can't I don't know for sure. I wouldn't think that turnips were harder to come by than pumpkins, but maybe they were. Maybe just naturally growing here, talking like 1700, something like that. Maybe it was harder to come by until they got crops growing. But uh stingy or steeny or stringy or whatever, Jack is supposedly where this came from.
Uh, Ichabod Crane is the main protagonist of the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Encounters the Headless Horseman, and I believe he disappears and becomes the Headless Horseman in the end, right?
Yeah, I remember the head was knocked off, I believe, and he's using a lit jack-o'-lantern to search for his head while on horseback or something along those lines, but also maybe taking victims as he's doing so. But we're really going back to like elementary school with my recollection here, so I apologize if I'm off.
Crane, I've never read this story. Crane proposes to Katrina, but a local man, Abraham Brownbones Van Brunt, is also wishing to marry Katrina. So it could be argued that the Headless Horseman was actually Abraham Brownbones Van Brunt,
Mm,
uh, retaliating against Ichabod's Riz, as the kids say.
man,
Rizabod Crane.
Rizabai Crane, there you go.
Yeah,
We've
let's see.
changed it
I'm
up.
gonna put on Chat GPT. See what that has to say.
So I
About
remember
what?
he
Just for
doesn't
fun?
believe that your rendition is
No,
accurate
no, no.
at
I'm just
all.
curious.
He doesn't trust you, Kyle, is what he's saying.
Trust the robots. Go for it.
Yeah, yeah, that they'll save us. Yeah,
So here it
it's
says that he was a soldier.
that was the
Um,
Headless Horseman, not Ichabod Crane. The Headless Horseman went after Ichabod Crane and maybe took his head, and he became the Headless Horseman.
uh,
It's a good movie. We should put it on one of these days, and just watch it, and then get sued by whoever for putting it on
We
YouTube.
should
So
have, yeah, a Legend of Sleepy Hollow watch party.
yeah,
Our reaction videos.
it's just us. Yeah, just us watching it and like stoically not reacting to it one way or the other. So dressing up. I know you asked about the candy a bit ago, so we got to keep marching our way towards that while Brad's just playing on robotic trivia over here. Um, may or may not have started with Samhain way back in the day as well. Some reporting that they had a activity they would call mumming, where they took place during their gatherings, go to each other's houses or festivals or parties, um, and they'd dress up in order to confuse and ward off the evil spirits that had been let loose during this time of year.
Mumming?
Mumming,
Is that where the mums get their name?
I have no idea.
you're the doctor
Man.
here.
I am not a doctor of flowers. I'm assuming is what you were talking about with mums, but maybe it's something else that you were referring to that I just missed completely. I don't know.
You're not a doctor of flowers?
No, I am not.
Oh, man.
Now, trick or treating, there's actually three different theories of where it came to, and they're all like different parts of history, and maybe they took from one or the other. But the first theory that was provided was during Samhain, during this mumming that they were doing, Um, Celtic people would leave out food to appease the spirits, and then people who were dressed up, who may have been in need or just hungry while they were out biting in too much meat or what have you, would go and access this food and drink while dressed up as the spirits that they were supposed to be warding off. So
Gotcha.
possible, but again, not a lot of written history there.
Yeah.
The second theory is that trick or treating is derived from souling, which is a practice during the Middle Ages, which involved children and poor adults collecting food and money from local homes in return for prayers for the dead on All Saints' Day. And then,
Okay.
even more specifically, a Scottish version of this called guising dropped the prayers in favor of songs, jokes, and other tricks and forms of entertainment for the people they were trying to get food from.
So it was all food in the beginning, not necessarily sweets.
It does seem like the common thread here is people in need dressing up, maybe in order to provide some sort of entertainment or service to get the food, or potentially to hide who they were so they didn't have to be embarrassed by their need later on.
It says souling also involves sometimes food for exchange for prayers or performance.
So the souling was the prayers, and then the Scottish version of it, the guising, was more for
Okay.
tricks and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And the
The fra-
last,
oh, go ahead.
good. No, what are you saying?
The phrase trick or treat first appeared in print in a 1927 Canadian newspaper.
So they're
Yes.
not all nice.
What we will get to the Americanized travesty that is our history here in a moment. But the last theory about the earliest signs of trick or treating is it may stem from a German American Christmas tradition called Belsnickeling, where
Berstickeling.
yes, if it was a German American, I'd be confused, but that fits perfectly. Where children would dress up in costumes and go to neighboring houses to see if the adults could guess who they were. And in some communities, food and treats were given if the adults could not identify them and like
Oh,
which
yeah.
family they came from. So that's potential of like the earliest versions of what became trick or treating. But as you just ruined my story and alluded to,
That's what I'm here for.
trick or treating was not common in the United States until World War II. Didn't really exist here. Um, by the late 1800s, the tradition of playing tricks on Halloween was pretty well established in both U.S. and Canada. Um, Back in those days, it was primarily tipping over outhouses, egging houses, opening the farmers' gates for the animals to get loose. And as horrible as that sounds, remember this was before like automobiles and stuff, and so they probably were just wandering around. It was just a menace, not actually a danger to their animals, but you never know.
Yeah.
Um, but by the 1920s and 1930s, things had just gotten completely out of hand in the United States because that's who we are in our hold my beer type of society. This is according to magazine Live Science. The celebrations had turned into huge block parties, and vandalism was getting so out of control that, like, by the 1930s, major cities were seeing millions of dollars of damage each year.
Dang.
Yeah,
Just from
1930.
tricks?
Yep, that's all those tricks. So 1933 was so bad it was referred to as Black Halloween. And it was so bad that many cities considered banning the holiday altogether, putting in restrictions. You couldn't celebrate. But instead, they decided to try this practice that was being done in some areas of Canada, which was trick or treating, to replace these giant parties with, going around getting candy and making it more of a children's holiday rather than just this mischievous celebration for that time of year. And so it wasn't until like World War II, 1940s, maybe into the 1950s that this was widely established as a thing we do, even though growing up as a kid, it just seemed like something we always did, you know.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Uh, then from there, and I didn't realize growing up that Devil's Night was mostly a Detroit tradition. Like there are some other places in the country that celebrated it as well, but like I grew up just thinking that was part of the Halloween season. So the night before Devil's Night, that is your night for going out and being involved in this mischief that was occurring back in the 1920s, 1930s. The next day was for Halloween parties and going around and you know, trick or treating, what have you. It seems like from the 1930s until the 1970s, that was kind of the case. But at least in Detroit and in some other areas as well, and like we're talking city proper here, they it got so out of hand by the 1970s that there were like literally you could see. I remember being in the 90s and you could see the traffic camera and the chopper flying over, just like fires all around the city. So they said 1984 there was over 800 fires or instances of arson reported that year alone.
Jeez.
And so living in the suburbs, we're running around toilet papering houses. Like my mom would drive us to do it, I think mostly to make sure we didn't do anything more
Yeah.
damaging than just using toilet paper. We'd go to the bar and either saran wrap or toilet paper or fill my uncle's car with balloons just to get him every year. And it seemed like good fun. But then you go home, turn on the news while eating dinner, and just see this chaos. And that went on until 1995 when they started the initiative for Angels Night and got thousands of people to volunteer to patrol, the city and these neighborhoods. And by 2017, at least on paper, it was successful enough that they've actually ended it now and just had a big community celebration because
Hmm.
this yearly vandalism just really doesn't occur the way it used to. And it's kind of like a microcosm of the turnaround we've seen in the city of Detroit as a whole, because
Yeah.
Detroiters, and including us people in the suburbs, we are very proud of our city, regardless if it is because it's hardcore or because it's a wonderful place to visit and has the #1 rated riverwalk in the country nowadays. But it is nice that we can
Slipping
be
that
proud of it.
fact in there.
Yeah, it's nice that we can be proud of it for positive reasons rather than some of the negative ones we were proud of it for growing up.
So Angel's Night ousted Devil's Night.
Yep. And now it's just a big celebration. They don't even do the coordinated Angels Night anymore. So,
Fort Wayne has a zombie walk every year. Everybody paints up like a zombie and walks the street. And
but did they set things on fire?
they
Because
don't. They don't. But the zombie walk was at the same time as our No Kings protest, so there were zombies with protest signs, which
that
looked
is
pretty
pretty
amazing.
awesome, actually. I support anytime zombies are protesting, I think.
The one said, "Yes, brains, no kings." I applauded
Oh,
that.
all
I
right.
feel like
So,
I've learned a lot about Halloween.
yeah, like you said, skeletons start with the bonfire.
Yeah.
Then different parts of history looked at skeletons different. You can see with a lot of the old tombs, even in Christian areas, like during the Dark Ages, medieval times, that sort of thing, how they would um, decorate the areas with bones, and then started becoming more macabre, like 1700s into the 1800s, and like symbolizing death and being used to scare audiences in plays or in writing or in music, that sort of thing. And so that's kind of how that's been come to be used in our modern idea of what Halloween is. um I thought bats was pretty interesting, that bats have always been associated, and they're pretty sure it's because the bonfires would just bring a bunch of insects, so the bats would fly around and eat
Oh
the
yeah.
insects, and so like
Yeah.
they were just always associated with these things. And then um it built the imagery of them being like nighttime creatures that come around this time of year, and some of them are pretty
Yeah.
freaky looking too. That there's a number of superstitions that came about that they would cause or signal death was coming.
They literally carry disease oftentimes, so
Yeah,
I could check it out.
bobbing for apples. I was interested to find out that that was actually used as a fortune telling event in early American history.
How
Oh
so?
wow.
Like not only were the apples like one of the treats that were abundant before candy, because I don't know if we mentioned this when we talked about the Necco wafers before, but that was literally like the first mass produced candy that some pharmacists used just to help people get the medicine that tasted horrible down, and then the kids kept coming by and buying it.
Necco
But
wafer.
yeah, but before that you were stuck just with like apples and fruit and stuff. um but
Nope.
the bobbing for apples, the legend was that the first person to pluck it out without using their hands was gonna be the first to be married.
Ah, that's the
Um,
scariest Halloween of all. I don't
and
know.
nowadays, it's just all about commercialism and candy, which can't complain about the candy. I mean, maybe our costumes are a little bit less ingenious, but there's nobody in my family around anymore that could just sew me one fresh like my grandmother did when I was little. So I'm cool with the commercialism, I guess.
Do you all have any like idiosyncratic Halloween traditions, like specific to you or your family?
I
No.
always remember eating pizza.
Hmm.
Um, I remember one year watching like The Simpsons. I believe, and I may be misremembering it, but I think we watched The Simpsons like Halloween special. One
Yeah.
year it just happened to be Halloween on a Sunday.
Yeah.
But usually then years later that came out the week or two before, and so maybe I'm misremembering that. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Honestly,
Gotcha.
dedication by The Simpsons to always have like the Treehouse of Horror with
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
every season.
Yeah.
Um
We do Christmas music. We play Christmas music every year on Halloween.
that's interesting.
I don't know. It's my wife's thing.
I have noticed more and more houses like on our way home from trick or treating because no one trick or treats in our neighborhood. So I go to my parents' neighborhood where there's more houses closer together, and Christmas lights will be popping on and turning on as we're driving home in the dark,
Nice.
Halloween night. So
Lowe's is wild right now because they got the animatronic. It's like all Halloween on this
yeah.
side, and then it's all Christmas on this side. So they got dueling animatronics. Where there's like a possessed clown like screaming at Mickey Mouse. He's like, "Hoi ho ho!" and like he just like carrying us. It's really really bizarre. My daughter did not know what to do with herself walking through that mess.
So what do you guys? What's the family dressing up as? I think we already got that. Dr. Brad here is going to be Gandalf or some other strange wizard type creature.
Gandalf.
I I have a dinosaur costume that I wear. It's not the raptor. It's like a pterodactyl.
Is this the same one that when you spilled water on yourself, you went home just so
Yeah.
no one knew that you were trying to play it off that you were just dressed up for fun, so nobody knew you
Yeah.
spilled water all over yourself?
I wear it every year. They did cover up the huge bidet disaster of last year's Halloween. Hopefully, my neighbors aren't listening to this. Two,
They know.
the 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 dinosaur I find embarrasses my kids the most, and so
Okay.
I just it's huge, and so I just like hit everybody as I'm walking down the sidewalk, and yeah,
So we're doing Scooby Doo because that's what our 4-year-old wanted this year. He was gonna be Scooby, I was gonna be Shaggy, and then mom and little brother were gonna be monsters because this is probably the last Halloween that he gets to choose for little brother too, before
yeah,
he's got enough verbal behavior to say like, nope, not doing that.
develops a mind of his own.
So we started picking out the monster costumes that seemed the most Scooby Doo ish. And he's like, nope, that's way too cool. I'm not being Scooby anymore. So now mom is Scooby, I'm Shaggy, and they are monsters. And I got like this pop-up tent thing I'm gonna tear off and like put around their wagon. So the monsters will be driving the mystery mobile that we are pushing as Scooby and Shaggy.
You are the ultimate Halloween dad.
I will ever like never not dress up, and I am shocked and appalled by people that don't choose to dress up with their kids.
Ooh, what about the new way of doing trick or treating where you have the candy for the kids, but then in the neighborhood you got like the cooler for the adults? I like this.
I'm
Oh
cool with
yeah,
it, except I'm not walking home, and so that's like because I'm driving home, I'm not partaking. I will say one that I really did not like that I don't mind. I'll call this jerk out on in front of everybody. There's a neighbor near my parents who like there have been a lot of Latino families. I don't know if exactly where they're from for sure, but coming in there to take the kids trick or treating because it's a good trick or treating neighborhood. And so this jerk decided that he is going to ask people where they live, and if they live in the neighborhood, they get the good stuff, and everybody else just gets like one tiny piece of candy.
oh, that
And so,
asshole.
if I lived across the street, I told my parents like back in the day when we were teenagers, he would have been scared away from that neighborhood real
Yeah,
quick.
yeah,
But I wish I lived close enough to just leave flaming bags of dog shit on his porch every day. So
man, what a jerk.
yeah,
There's the guys like that, and there's the guys in the church who hand out like tracts instead of candy. Did you ever get those?
no.
We never handed them out. I'd get them every now and then though, and trick or treating, and just somebody hand you like Jesus is the ultimate treat. I'm like, God damn it, that's not good. That's not good
I remember
candy.
looking back and getting like change. I'm like, you literally just reached in your pocket and gave this to me.
Oh, geez, kid, I wasn't ready for this. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
You
about
only
it.
had a full year to prepare. One neighbor that I grew up with that still lives next to my parents, she'll offer candy or an apple to kids. She has both sitting out, and she's like always shocked by the number of kids that actually choose the apple.
Oh yeah, that's not a
Probably
bad idea.
because she's proven herself that she's not hiding razor blades in them.
Yeah,
That might
Yeah.
be next year's episode. That whole thing.
the razor blades and the candy.
Yeah, and as far as I know, that never actually occurred. But we'll have to do some research and then tell people for sure where that came from.
That was the number one word of warning.
Yeah, maybe we'll also go into the Tylenol poisoning murders and how that almost canceled Halloween as well. So
But that was a real thing, though.
maybe like the Tylenol was definitely poisoned. People were really dying. Whether someone's going around and poisoning or not depends on which documentary you listen
And
to.
to be clear, we're not talking about the recent Tylenol news, but like
no, this was
90s,
back in the 80s.
80s, yeah, there was a laced Tylenol.
This
was
was
with arsenic,
reasonable.
Right?
This one is it's actually reasonable. This is back the reason why now they come sealed for protection. So, all right. Anything else to throw out for the holiday before I get out of this costume that's much too warm to be sitting here?
So I'm sweating. Yeah.
Have a spooky Halloween, everyone.
Yeah, and just remember to enjoy yourself, enjoy the holiday. It's the best holiday there is. The Festival of Lights, as I call it, the Halloween lights on my house. And go around and try to enjoy seeing the kids and enjoying the magic of the season. And just be careful because you never know when that ghoul coming up to your door for some candy might be real and might take you away with them. So enjoy.
You need to watch out for that.